This is Gateway City Sports. This is the Derek King Sports Show. Cardinals, Blues, Mizzou Athletics, Chiefs. He has it covered. The Derek King Sports Show. Only on Gateway City Sports.
Are you not entertained? Remember that line from the movie Gladiator, the Academy Award-winning classic with Russell Crowe? Are you not entertained? Here we go again. This is something that I'm literally at a loss for words at this stage. Because the cojones, the chutzpah on the NFL, that they literally cannot help themselves. They literally cannot help themselves. But to continue to keep screwing fans and continue to keep screwing cities, municipalities, everything else in between. If you haven't seen over this, I believe it was this weekend. It was right around Monday, and the Buffalo Bills. Actually, I should say the Bills. In retrospect, the Buffalo Bills are now asking, and I'm not kidding about this. This is serious here. They are asking for $1.5 billion. Seriously? You're going to ask for a $1.5 billion for a new stadium. And you want to know, here's the best part. They're not even asking for the money for the stadiums, right? I mean, even the Buffalo Bills, like, fluff sheets that are out there for the team are even reporting badly on this thing. They're wanting over $1 billion. I think what they said was probably closer to $1.1 billion that they want. This particular article comes to us from the SB Nation, BuffaloRumblings.com. And this particular article comes, use caution when reading Buffalo Bills' new stadium reports, as details are already changing. It's funny because I read through some of this, and it's $1.1 billion in funding from New York State for the new stadium in Orchard Park, $400,000 for renovations at Key Bank Center in downtown Buffalo, which is the home of the Buffalo Sabres, if I remember correctly. So it's kind of a dual thing. So politicians and citizens, it says, from all over the state recoiled at taxpayer money going to subsidize billionaires' private business and a tone-deaf attitude asking for 100% of financing when teams typically get between 40 and 70. And the funny thing is, I read a report a couple of days ago through another big sports news organization that had said, well, this is on par with what's been going on. That's why they're asking for it. Really? It's on par. It's on par. Have they done any actual math? Have they looked at any real actual data? Because I guarantee you, if they've looked at any real actual data on this, I could promise you, I can guarantee you for a fact, unequivocally, that this is not standard business practice. Look at any other deal that's been done over the last decade. This is not standard business practice. In the article where it states here on BuffaloRumblings.com, it states very clearly between 40 and 70%, not 100%. The last 100% taxpayer-funded stadium, if I remember correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, I would appreciate it, was the Ed Jones Dome, the TWA Dome in St. Louis at the time. 100% taxpayer-funded stadium. That was the last one. So it doesn't go with any of the narrative that that's the case. So this is just one thing to prove a continuing point of that it's a horse that I continue to beat, even though it is long past dead, overdue, rotten in the field. I continue to beat this thing because I want people to know the truth and understand what the NFL is. You think the NFL is for you? Do you think that they do it for you? They don't do it for you. They do it for this. They do it for money. It's a business transaction. That's all it is. It's a money-making scheme. I wrote in one of my articles from the past about Jerry Jones, in particular, how much that he purchased the Dallas Cowboys for back in, what was it, the mid-late 1980s. I think it was 87, 88, somewhere in that vicinity. Okay, well, here's the thing. When it comes to Jerry Jones, the NFL, so on and so forth, in reality, and I want to be correct on this statement. I do not want to make an assessment of something that I'm not 100% factual about, because I want to get the numbers correct. Because if I do not get these numbers correct for you guys, it's just going to end up coming back to bite me in the butt. People are going to be, you screwed up. But in that time period, when Jones had purchased the Dallas Cowboys in the late 80s, could you imagine buying anything and having a return on, like a large return on investment, right? Like you buy a house. Maybe you bought it for, I don't know, you bought a house for $200,000. And then you turn around and you sold that house in 20 years for not $200,000, not even $2 million, but potentially, $200 million. Think about that from that perspective. So in my article over on GatewayCitySports.com that I wrote, it's been a little while back, but go check it out. Here's the article. Here's the particular piece, and I will read it for you. That Dallas Cowboys owner, and here it says it right here. If you cannot read it, I will highlight it and I will read it for you. Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones bought the boys for a cool $140 million in 1989. The Cowboys are the most valuable franchise in sports, valued at nearly or exceeding $5 billion in 2020. It goes on to state that, wow, think about that. An initial capital investment of $140 million that has nearly a 250% increase in investment. Are you getting that kind of return on your 401k? I doubt it. And that's the point. That's what I'm trying to get at here. This is a business that they are going to continue to bleed fans for. Think about this. This is where it makes me furious. I am a pure capitalist. I believe in capitalism to the fullest extent. I believe that people have the right to go out and make money and do what they want. And I believe that should be people's right to do so. These people are not just rich. They are so far beyond wealthy that they could literally stop doing what they're doing and never work another day. And they would have more money that they know what to do with, and they would still pass billions of dollars on to their next of kin. I mean, the banks literally are paying them money to keep their money, because the banks are using their money to lend out to other people to make more money. It's the way it works. That's the whole point. At the end of the day, when people say, you know what, we're good, no more taxpayer money, That's what's going to happen for these NFL teams, for Major League Baseball teams, but there's always going to be that one dumb city. Yeah, I'm talking to you out there. If you're watching the show, and I know there's a few cities, municipalities, city leaders that watch this show, I'm looking at you, kid. If you're that much of an idiot, if you're that much of a dummy to pay these weasels the billions and billions and billions of dollars that they want to continue to bleed you dry, to turn around in 20 years and leave, or to turn around in 15 years and leave, that's on your head. You own it. Deal with it. And the simple fact is, with the St. Louis situation and what's went on there, if they even try to get taxpayer money to fund a new stadium, there's going to be riots in the streets. I mean, it is St. Louis. That's a joke. That's a joke. The fact of the matter remains is if they try to do that in St. Louis, it ain't going to fly, Jack. It ain't going to happen. When you've got a owner like Jerry Jones in 1989 that bought in for $140 million and his franchise is valued at over $5 billion, he is so wealthy, he doesn't even know which end of the stick is up. He's got that much money. He don't care. And same thing goes with Stan Kroenke. How wealthy that man is, that hundreds of millions of dollars ain't nothing to him. He could have paid for the renovation of the Ed Jones Dome in St. Louis, and it wouldn't have been nothing. He could have paid for $700 million to build a new stadium either in downtown St. Louis or in the county. It would have been nothing. I've said it before in the past. I've reiterated it. Stan Kroenke would have been the savior of football in St. Louis. He would have had a bronze statue erected of him outside of the new stadium or a renovated stadium, and he would have been, exalted as one of the greatest Missourians ever. But no. Greed. Jerry Jones, greed, got in his mind, got in his ear, the idea of moving up the Forbes list, the idea of being so important in the NFL. Now he's a laughingstock because he's an idiot. He's an idiot that took it and said, oh, well, Jerry's just not going to lead me wrong. He's not going to do anything incorrect for me. He's doing the right thing by me. How about now, Stan? How about now that you're between $300 and $400 million in litigation fees for your attorneys that you've got to pay for, and now you're on the hook for damages and everything else in between. Now, you don't think that the St. Louis Law team isn't going after all the other owners, their assets, the people that were truly involved in this mischief, okay, and this wild scheme of fraud? Let's also be very clear. This is, in my mind's eye, and I'm not a lawyer. I don't play one on TV. This isn't Law and Order. Dun, dun, dun. But I will tell you, from firsthand experience, this is the closest thing that you're going to get to collusion, real, true, honest-to-God collusion, not just what they say on TV, but honest-to-God collusion where you have these individuals working together in cohesion to screw fan bases, to screw municipalities, and to manage to get billions of more dollar in revenue streams. This is the facts, folks. You can't deny it anymore. Look at the Buffalo situation. Look at what's going on there. Talk about the Jacksonville situation. We've been talking about that for months. Look at all the evidence that's come out in St. Louis in court up to this point. I am telling you, this is what's happening. Bang the desk so hard stuff falls off. I get excited because this is stuff that I've been talking about for the last several years. But I'm the crazy one, right? Now, I'm bitter. I'm crazy. I don't know what I'm talking about. I've been called a lot of things, and I've been told a lot of things, even directly to my face, but especially through the screen. You get told a lot of things that you're nuts and you don't know what you're talking about. I have followed this story from front to back and everything in between. I know the facts of this case. I know everything. I know about as much of this case in St. Louis and prior cases in Cleveland, in Los Angeles with the Raiders, and Al Davis's lawsuit in the early 80s, and everything else that went in between. I have steeped myself into these cases. I know them like the back of my hand. We're going to take a real quick break for a second. We're going to jump over into the comments because we've had a couple of pop up. Gene, morning, bud. Good to see you in there. Will, don't forget his cost overruns for the stadium and had to get a loan from the NFL. That's another thing that needs to be brought up with Kroenke and that situation out there. The cost overruns, what they were predicting was about $2.2 billion that have now overran over $5 billion and has had to take a secondary loan out for several $100 million through the NFL. And then on top of that, all the litigation, the $300 to $400 million in litigation that he's currently racked up to this point, and now all of the absolutely damning information that continues to come out in court and sully and soil the NFL. And it's like the NFL doesn't need any help in this. They've already done enough damage to their own brand and to their own entity. Stan Kroenke doesn't have to help him anymore. That dipshit Kevin Demoff doesn't have to help him anymore. Lying sack of crap that he is. Because Demoff, I hope you're watching this, buddy. You suck. You're a piece of garbage. I hate your guts. Just want to let you know you're a lying pack of crap. You stand there in front of our faces and tell us that the team ain't moving out. Just to hell with you. And the big white horse you rode in on. So take that in your pipe and smoke it. I really don't give a damn anymore. I'm just going to say it how it is because I'm fed up with the entire process. I'm fed up with the NFL, and they're continually lying. And this is the part that's the best part about all this. With the Buffalo news that's come out, and we kind of saw this coming a mile away. With the Jacksonville Jaguars news that continues to evolve, at least Khan is going about it in a way that is the proper way to do it. He doesn't really want to leave Jacksonville. Let's be clear. He either wants London or nothing. And the logistical nightmare that is London cannot be figured out overnight. The NFL has already taken steps in the process of supplanting another team over in Germany, are playing games over in Germany. This is what this all comes down to is another NFL Europe 2.0. I discussed it with Howard Balzer in our interview. It's over on the Facebook page. Go check it out. It's got thousands and thousands of views. It took off. It went viral, and it's fantastic. But the one thing we discussed was this is NFL Europe 2.0. They figured out that logistically they can't put just one team or maybe two teams over there. They're going to have to build an entire conference of teams over there to play. Yes, you could have a team that goes over and plays periodically, and that's okay. But you cannot have one team over there to come and jump the pond back and forth. It cannot work. So everybody wants to use the London narrative of, that team's going to relocate to London. The Bills are just saying right now they're going to try to relocate to Austin, Texas. Are you kidding me? Did we just talk about Jerry Jones? Did we just discuss about how greedy that son of a gun is? And I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be family friendly here. For the most part, it's tough. It's tough. But there ain't no way. There ain't no way he's going to let the Buffalo Bills move into Austin. What are they going to be called? The Austin Bills? That doesn't make any sense. They'll have to rebrand. So what are they going to do? They're going to move the team to Austin? Because Jerry Jones ain't going to allow it to happen, and neither is the McNair estate. It ain't happening. They wouldn't let the Raiders go into San Antonio. The Raiders are a little bit different situation. Nobody likes Mark Davis, and they definitely don't like his dad. They don't like the Raiders organization as it sees fit because the Raiders are worldwide. They're a brand that's known outside of football. Even fans, even people that are not fans, I should reiterate this, even people that are not fans of football know the Raiders. It's like even people that are not fans of baseball know the Yankees, right? It's a brand that supersedes the league, and the league don't like that. The powers that be, they do not like that. You think Jerry Jones and the Cowboys are a brand that supersede and go beyond the NFL. People recognize the logo, they recognize the name, and they recognize the brand. I can't tell you how many Cowboy fans, or even like now Los Angeles Rams fans, and people that are wearing gear, walking around, just let's use the Rams because I like to beat up on them as much as I can. Even walking around in L.A., Southern California, you see somebody wearing Rams gear. Hey, you excited about the Rams being here in L.A.? Oh, yeah, man, I'm super excited about the team. Oh, man, did you know they're going to be in the playoffs? No, I didn't know they were going to be. There's a couple of videos out there. It's hilarious for you to watch. You should see it because they don't care. They don't care. It's because the brand is what's more important. So we need to get back to this whole idea of what the NFL is doing, what the NFL continues to do, and where they're going to go forward from here on out. Because here's where it gets juicy. So, ooh, yeah. You better get ready because we're about ready to, as the Macho Man would say, we're going to snap into it. Because here's where it's at. Over the next 10 to 15 years, the NFL is going to try to create a second conference in Europe. They're going to go back to NFL Europe 2.0 because they figured out they cannot logistically make it work. They're going to have to put, 4 teams at least over there. So you got to say, okay, one in London, one in Germany. Where at? Where else at? Logistically, they have to make sense. You're going to put one in Berlin or Luxembourg. Where are you going to put them at? So you got to put one in London. You got to put one in Germany. You're probably going to put one in France. Probably Paris, somewhere like that. A bigger French city. You might potentially put one in Spain. Okay, so there's your 4. So it's pretty easy. And there's billionaires that are over there just sitting and waiting ready for that opportunity. But that still doesn't change the fact of where we're going at right now in the United States and the way things are going. I've said this for the last 2 years. Leases are coming up now. They're coming up over the next 10 years. Once this information comes out, you think that this move from the Bills is because, it's time we're going to start talking about. No, it's because of the information that's come out in the St. Louis lawsuit. Do you honestly think, and I've said this before, I'll say it again, beat the dead horse again, would you want to do business with somebody that you knew was screwing other people? You knew for a fact that they've screwed other people they've negotiated with and done deals with. Would you want to do business with them? I don't think so. If you knew a car lot was screwing customers and they weren't taking care of customers and they were screwing people on their car deals, do you honestly think that you would want to go and do business with that car lot because they screw you over or they screw their customers over? No, you wouldn't. But I'll tell you one car lot that won't screw. That's Fifth Street Motors, located in Pacific, Missouri. They'll sell you any kind of car, any kind of brand. They're going to take care of you. I promise that because I personally know. So they're a great company to do business with. Give them a call, 573-259-1306. They're located in Pacific, Missouri. Really easy to get to, and they're fantastic to work with. Go check them out. But it's the whole adage of doing business with somebody who you know is going to be honest with you. Is the NFL going to be honest with you? Be honest with yourself. No, they're not. They're going to continue to screw people, and they're going to continue to keep doing what they're doing. And it's not going to stop until the people say, no mas. We're done. That's the way it's going to have to go down. So, enough of my ranting and raving about that. Just keep your eye on the prize because you're going to continue to keep seeing stuff. Okay? I'm serious. You're going to continue to keep seeing information. It's going to get leaked out. This news with the Buffalo thing. Then you're going to start hearing things about the Jaguars. Then you're going to start hearing things about the Chargers. Then you're going to start hearing things about the Saints. And then you're going to start hearing things about the Carolina Panthers. Then you're going to hear. There's always going to be something. Just keep your eyes peeled and keep your ears open because it's just going to continue to keep coming. So, the next thing that I want to talk about, and I'm just only going to touch on it briefly, because I know that folks are upset about it. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to move into the transition, and then we're going to talk about it just here in a second.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
Okay. This is not the most fun segment that I want to talk about. I'm not excited about talking about this. I don't really necessarily want to talk about this, but it needs to be discussed. The Cardinals are now in what's the best way to phrase it? You guys come up with good phrases of what the Cardinals are doing right now. Go ahead and put it over in the comments section. But the best way I can describe it is phoning it in. Okay, it's like somebody that puts in their 2-week notice at a job. Are you going to kill yourself? You know you're leaving. You're going to a better job, maybe a better location, better pay, better hours. Will says lame duck. Jason says mediocre contention. I agree with both of those assessments. Lame duck is a little bit like you're forced into a situation. You know, I have to say like a lame duck president. That's usually because, you know, the Senate is flipped and it's to the opposite party and you can't get anything done. That's not really the case with the Cardinals. They're choosing not to get anything done. So either they've got a big plan up their sleeve for next year, or it's the same old, same old. Wash, rinse, repeat. Go bargain bin baseball player hunting and get players that are towards the end of their career that maybe have 1 or 2 good years left that you have to, you know, they've got a good name. They're going to sell you jerseys. They're going to really boost ticket sales early on in the season. But once you get into the dog days of summer, which is coming up, which is we're already here, you know, hitters are going to be lucky if they hit their weight. Pitchers are going to be lucky if they're going to have a sub-4 ERA. They're going to be lucky if they have a sub-5 ERA. It's just not a good situation, and it's not a good look on the Cardinals that they continue to crap the bed and put this kind of a product out there in front of eyeballs and tell people, oh, hey, we're really trying. You're not doing shit. You're not trying. Pardon the French, but you're not doing anything. You're not doing a damn thing. You're taking John Lester and you're taking some other joker, you know, Wade LeBlanc or people that are washed up. You can't go out and get a decent player. You can't try. You're not even trying. You're not even making an attempt. For what excuse? Oh, well, we're going to try to make a run at Trevor Story in the offseason. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. I know I've heard those rumors. I've seen those reports. But it's ridiculous. It's upsetting. Will says the force part is fans watching the product. That's what I mean by lame duck in situation. Well, here's the thing. You don't have to be forced to watch the product. I've stopped watching the product. It is so abysmally just boring and awful that I don't even see them even making an attempt to try. That I just catch the recaps. I watch the highlights. And I read some stories and reports on the games and what the box scores were, and that's about the extent of it anymore at this point. I'm so disappointed and upset. I'm just ready for football season. And I know that sounds crazy, the rant that I just went on for, 20-plus minutes on the NFL. And I just ranted and raved on it. But I'm ready for football. I'm ready for a change of season, and I'm ready for it. Jason says that the only team that's mastered a budget in baseball is the Oakland A's, #Moneyball. They are trying to decrease the amount they pay for wins. He also says that the Cardinals are trying to reduce the amount of paid per win. No, that's absolutely factual. You know, that's true. And Mo, I think, has watched the movie Moneyball or read the book one too many times. He's probably read one too many of Bill James stuff and, you know, has had probably one too many conversations with Bill James. But the reality of the situation is that this is really starting to piss Cardinals fans off. It's really starting to make them mad. I know I'm pretty frustrated with it. I'm pretty angry with it. And I can only imagine how angry you guys and gals are with it and frustrated you are with it because we're tired of seeing it. And we're tired of the excuses. So eventually, somebody's butt's going to have to be on the chopping block. And it's going to be Mo. Because you've already gotten rid of a head coach. Or the skipper. You've already gotten rid of him, the manager. Okay, Mike Matheny. You moved on. You went to your other guy, who's a company guy in Schilt. You fired, hitting coaches. You fired pitching coaches. You've done everything else in between. There's only one thing left to do. You clean house. And I really honestly think, this is my opinion, but I think next year is it. If there's not a change in the narrative by the end of next season, I do believe that ownership is going to be cleaning house. And when I mean clean house, I mean clean house. They're going to fire everybody. They're going to fire Mo. They're going to fire Gersh. They're going to fire Schilt. They're going to fire all his staff, and they're going to start over. That doesn't mean they're going to release players, but they're just going to start firing everybody. And I think it's long past overdue. It's long past time. I'll tell you, it's been a wild few weeks. And seeing reports, the NFL reports and things that's been coming out, and obviously everything with the NFL lawsuit that continues to happen, which I continue to follow and continue to keep watching the filings and everything going on. It's going to be an interesting next few months. As we start to kind of try to get back to normal and doing things like we used to do, and we don't need to get into the particulars about the political aspect of that, but it's just that fact. We're wanting to get back to normal, and we're wanting to get back to doing things like we used to do. We're tired of, all of this, and we're tired of the status quo with the Cardinals. We're tired of the status quo with football and everybody else in between. So we're going to, start putting your money where your mouth is. I know I do. That's how I operate. But last comment I'm going to read over here. Jason had come back and said, I never understood the Schilt hire, and it doesn't seem like a leader. No, he's a leader. He's definitely a player's guy. He's a clubhouse manager. But the problem is he's a yes man to upper management. He's not like Tony La Russa. As to where TLR was the check and balance to everything within the organization. Walt Jocketty and TLR had a really good relationship. It was symbiotic almost to a certain extent. They play back and forth off of one another. If people think that Walt Jocketty and TLR got along all that well, they're wrong. They had a mutual respect for one another, but they disagreed on a lot of things too. And TLR kept Mo in check. Now everybody says, well, there was a the great Dan Buffa. Go over and follow him over on Twitter. He had made a comment on one of his tweets that had said, name me basically one thing that Mo has done. And I was like, he really hasn't done anything at all, except for running his team in the ground. I can't remember what my exact response was, but he said, you got to give him Holiday. Holiday and Arenado, those were both trades. Name me one free agent that they've signed. One. Name me one that's been an impact player. I mean, besides a Carlos Beltran or, somebody like that at the end of their career that's really only got 1 or 2 good years left, Lance Berkman, whatever. Yeah, those are all fantastic. We liked them while we had them. But the fact of the matter is, like an impact player in the prime of their career, like Arenado. Sign them. Not trade for them, but sign them. Free agency. Go out and compete. Compete with the Dodgers. Compete with the Yankees. And go out and get that player. Because they can't. They can't and they haven't. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not in this free agency period, because the Cardinals had an opportunity to get Troy Tulowitzki. I don't know why that name popped into my head. Trevor Story, probably it's because it's still TT. Troy Tulowitzki, Trevor. But Trevor Story, from my sources and the people that I've talked to, is that there were conversations that was had, but after the whole Arenado debacle, the Colorado Rockies were really gun-shy with doing any more business with the Cardinals. So that's what kind of shut that whole thing down. Now, that being said, we'll see what happens in the offseason. But there's still a realistic possibility he could become a Cardinal, but the Cardinals really have to address pitching. That is the number one issue right now with the Cardinals is pitching. I'd love to see John Lester go back to late 2000s, early 2010s, form, mid 20-teens, early 20-teens. I'd love to see him go back to that. I'd love to see Wade LeBlanc be more than just a fill-in starter and, a sub 5.5 ERA pitcher. I'd love to see it. Sorry about that. I've got flies in here. The flies have been crazy. I don't know how they've been out where you guys are at, where you're watching, but man, it's just been nuts here in southern Missouri. It's just been a mess. But anyway, I digress. Marcus Stroman is a free agent. Thurman says only happens when Mark Cuban buys the Cardinals. Yeah, I get that. And Jason said that he means an inspiring leader. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that he probably is, to the players. But I think that there was, there's a difference between what some people would determine as an inspirational leader, as someone who's really lighting a fire underneath your butt to succeed, like TLR was good at, versus somebody who's, a man's man, that's trying to be a clubhouse guy, that's trying to be a clubhouse favorite. That's a lot different situation or scenario. But anyway, I'm going to cut it short. I've spent enough of your guys' time bellyaching about the NFL and bellyaching about the Cardinals. Hopefully something comes about here in the next week, but make sure that you tune in. Go over to GatewayCitySports.com. Check out all the shows and everything that's going on. I'm going to see you next week, 9 a.m. Talk to you guys then. Take care. Thank you so much for tuning in.